with 10 being that is the max, I'm doing everything in my power, and 1 being I'm not really doing anything. And you take those two numbers, the difficulty, and then you take the effort, and then you compare those two numbers. Here's the really tricky thing about this. If the difficulty is at all around the effort, or worse, above the effort, you will not achieve your goals. That's the bottom line. You will not achieve your goals. Not that one right there. Until something changes, if your difficulty outweighs the effort you're putting in, you better hope to win the lottery. Because otherwise you won't achieve your goals. And this can be applied with everything. It can be applied with dating, it can be applied to career, it can be applied to health. No matter what's going on, your effort must exceed the difficulty in that scale. If it doesn't do that, you will fail. It's a very, very simple equation. And so anything that you're wondering, why am I not good? Why am I not successful? Why am I not the best? Why have I not achieved this? If you put that scale to the test, it becomes extremely clear why you're not doing that. That's called the goals to effort ratio. When it comes to dating, most people have their goals sky high, and most people have their effort down here. Most people don't realize the difficulty of what you're trying to do. Most guys in this industry, and myself included, most guys in this industry started out and we're trying to take 20 to 30 years of social experience and we're trying to cram it into 2 years. Now let me tell you, what happens when you do that to anything else? What happens if I said, hey, I'm 5'4", Asian, never played basketball before, but I want to be in the NBA 2 years from now? What kind of effort is that going to require? Can I do that by just, I'll take some shots here and there. I'll go out, I'll play a couple pickup games. Maybe I'll join the local gym. Am I ever going to get close? Even if I was tall, would I ever come close to being in the NBA? Would I ever come close even to being in a high school team? Not a chance. Because I'm competing with guys that are putting in 20, 30 years sometimes of experience. And I'm trying to cram 2 years of experience with mediocre effort, trying to make that happen. That doesn't work in basketball, that doesn't work in finance, that doesn't work in dating, that doesn't work in anything unless you are extremely, extremely lucky. Most people don't want to realize, they don't want to appreciate the difficulty in what you're trying to do here, especially with regard to dating. You're trying to massively condense everything into a 2-year period. What do you think everyone else is doing? Everyone else is taking the next 10, 20, 30 years and doing the same thing. You're trying to cheat the system. And you can do it, but you can't slack off. If you slack off, there is no chance in hell that this is ever going to happen. You have to make sure that your efforts are far exceeding the difficulty in that ratio. If it doesn't happen, you're not successful. Make sense?
Yes.
Second thing, second secret, you must be willing to fail a lot. And I know a lot of people say, oh, no, I've heard that. Yeah, I get that. You know, Edison, he failed 1,000 times, blah, blah, blah. But how many things have you failed at thousands of times? Thousands and thousands of times and you didn't quit. Most of us don't do that. The vast majority of us, myself included, when we fail at things 1,000 times, when we fail at things over and over and over again, we don't even really make it that high. We quit way, way before. And that's why most people won't ever achieve that excellence. That's why most people aren't successful. Because at the slightest moment where, oh, it's getting a little bit too hard, at the slightest moment where it's a little bit too difficult now, I'll just stop doing it. If you want to be in that 5%, if you want to be in that group of people that is at the top, at that apex of that pyramid, you have to be willing to fail thousands and thousands of times. There's a famous quote that says, success is the ability to go from one failure to another with no loss of enthusiasm. And that's Winston Churchill. That's what everything on this is about. How many failed shots do you think an NBA player has taken in the entire time he's played basketball? We're talking thousands, maybe tens of thousands. How many failed reps does a bodybuilder do before he goes pro? How many times do you fall before you learn to walk? When you're a baby or maybe when you're rehabilitating? Failure, gentlemen, is not an option. Failure is a necessity. Failure is something that you have to look forward to in a way. You have to see failure and realize that without failure, there is no success. And if you're one of the few lucky people that achieve success without failure, guess what? You don't care. You don't care, you don't appreciate it because you never had to work for it. There's no investment. You never had to work for it, And so you don't even notice it. Anything that comes too easy, you don't even care about. You don't notice. But for the rest of us, the things that we want to do, they're difficult. And we have to be comfortable with this idea of failure. If you aren't willing to fail 1,000 times before you experience success, then you aren't willing to succeed. Sun Tzu in The Art of War said that victory is reserved for those willing to pay its price. And the unfortunate fact is that most people aren't willing to pay its price. Again, the 5, the 95. The 5, the 95. You must have faith in that process, and you must respect the journey that you're on. Most of us have worthy goals. Most of us have large goals. What that means is that those are difficult goals, and you have to respect the difficulty in that journey. It's difficult, gentlemen, for a reason. It's difficult because that's what makes it worth it. Because if it wasn't difficult, you wouldn't be on it. If it wasn't difficult, you would already be good at it. If it wasn't difficult, everyone would be good at it, and it wouldn't mean anything. The only reason it means something is because it's hard, and because most people can't do it. So again, coming back to that same question. Do you have what it takes? Are you in that 5 or are you in that 95? Secret number 3, you must have direction. You must know where you're going. So many people will get out there and they'll get in the car and they'll drive in a direction hoping to somehow reach their destination. Only they don't know what direction they're driving. They don't know if they're driving towards their destination or away from the destination or laterally to the destination. Now, I don't have to tell you guys that if you're doing that, you get in the car and you drive a random direction, your odds aren't very good that you're actually going to reach that destination in any kind of reasonable time. You have to know your direction. And more importantly than just knowing the map, you have to have the route. You have to have the GPS navigation that tells you how to get there. Because if you don't have that, you'll run around in circles. And we see that in dating. We see that in finance. We see that in exercise. We see that pretty much across the board. People without direction don't go anywhere. They drive around in circles. And then eventually when you drive around in circles, what happens? You get discouraged and you quit. I didn't want to go to that party anyway. I didn't even want to go to Vegas anyway. Screw it. It's been way too long. You get discouraged and you quit. That's how the world works. That's how people work. So if you don't want to be in that group, if you don't want to get discouraged and quit, then you need to have a roadmap. You need to figure out, what is my next step? Just like the GPS navigation. What's my next thing to do, and how do I do it? And most people don't have any idea what that is. Most people have the map as a whole sometimes, but they don't have that navigation. I'm going to do a quick drill. All right, I need a volunteer. Someone, say medium to beginner to intermediate skill level, dating-wise. There in the back. Can you go ahead and come up? Give them a round.